Hey, it's a Friday, and this will be week 2, I think, of nothing but good stuff, meaning that I'm not complaining about anything today. I'm going to try really hard not to complain. So be very, very observant of how I address these issues because I'm trying hard not to complain. But among other things, I had several people contact me and say, Steve, on your iTunes, you have the wrong podcast labeled, and so you need to check that. And so the interesting thing is that when I post my videos on YouTube, I do that, and then I take the audio and I post that onto a server, which then gets fed to all the different podcasters, including iTunes, Podbean, Google Play, and so on. And I had posted it wrong. I'd accidentally posted the wrong audio. And I check the videos because, and it's easy to do because of the thumbnail. But the audio for the podcast, sometimes I just check to make sure there's something there, but I don't actually listen into the story to make sure I've got the correct story because I've never done this before. And somebody sent me a note, I think it was Tuesday, and said, hey, Steve, you got the wrong audio up for one of your podcasts on iTunes. Well, I don't upload it to iTunes. I upload it to a server that uploads it to iTunes. So I very quickly went in, confirmed it was the wrong one, pulled it down, and posted the correct one. And so when I post the correct one, when you go to iTunes or Podbean or Google Play or wherever you go, it should then request the podcast and it should send over the correct one. And about a week later, the original one must have been a little over a week ago, but about a week later, I got a note from a guy who goes, Steve, you got the wrong podcast up on iTunes. And I don't know how to fix that, only because I fixed it at my end. And I don't know if they actually downloaded it their end and then redistributed it, because they'd have no need to do that. I'm using RSS for those of you who are curious. And so most of the podcast broadcasters don't actually download them and redistribute them. They simply pass it through. So I don't know why it would have shown up wrong a week later, or it might not have. Once in a while, somebody will tell me that something happened and they wait 5 days to send me an email. So I mentioned that I was getting so many emails sent to my work address that it was annoying me because they were emails regarding my videos. And I say, if you got questions or comments, post them below at the end of every video. And so I said, I think it was last week, but maybe the week before, that I'm going to create an email that I'll simply send back to people who write to me about my videos. And I've done that now 4 or 5 times. And the good news is that people apparently understand because they don't follow up. So what the email says that I send back says, I'm sorry, but I do not respond to video comments from my work email. And then I put parenthetically, other than with this email. In the past, it's generally not been productive. If you'd like to comment on a video on my YouTube channel, please do so in the comment section there. Thank you, Steve. So I've only had to post that a few times in response to emails people send me. But again, I don't know what prompts someone to watch a video where a guy goes, questions, comments, put them below, and they go out of their way to go find my work email and send me an email at work. So I'm not complaining. One of the things I mentioned recently was how much spam I get. And how much of the spam is people trying to sell me stuff, whether it's search engine optimization scams or websites. And I get about once a week, I don't know if it's the same person or not because I use a different email each time. And by the way, if you find yourself changing your email every single day, you're in the wrong business because you know that people are blocking your email. That's why you keep changing your email. But I get an email about once a week from somebody, and I think it's the same person, who says, hey, just touching base again. We own the URL, and it'll be something like this. Southfield Family Law Lawyer Litigation Specialist.com. We own that URL. Do you want to buy it? It's available. $900. Southfield Family Law Lawyer Litigation Specialist.com. No one thought to grab that before. Oh my gosh. Dude, you're sitting on a gold mine. Southfield Family Law Lawyer Litigation Specialist.com. The reason that was available is nobody wanted it. Number 2, why would I put the word Southfield in my URL when I'm statewide? I handle cases statewide. Also, family law. I don't handle family law. Why would I want that? Southfield Family Law Lawyer. Litigation specialist is kind of redundant from the previous part. .com. Surprising to see you also had .biz available. But it'll be something that stupid. And I just block the email. And then a week later I'll get one that says, hey, Southfield automobile accident litigation lawyer professional specialist.com is available. Just touching base again. Do you want to buy it? It's only $900. Can you imagine trying to tell somebody, you can find me on the website. Oh, what's your website? Southfield Family Law Lawyer Litigation Specialist.com. Hang on. Southfield what now? Southfield Family Law Lawyer Litigation Specialist.com. Just type in 75 words and you'll find me. I don't know. I don't know if they can ever sell it to anybody, but who knows? Maybe they will. Maybe they will. One of the things that I'm always impressed by is occasionally I will throw in extremely obscure references in my videos, and they're often references to songs. You know, East of Omaha, the highway, right? The other day I did one and nobody caught it, but then I went and double checked this morning and 2 people caught it. And I'm so happy. I did the story about how Wisconsin was deemed the drunkest state in America by experts who know. Presumably there's much celebrating and drinking as a result. And in the video I said that one of the reasons I think people drink a lot in Wisconsin and Finland, because there's a lot of drinking there too, is I said because of the cold and the darkness, the short days in the wintertime in particular. I'll bet you anything that's it. And by the way, somebody contacted me and said, Steve, you're actually onto something there. And they sent me a link to a paper done by professionals who'd studied the excessive use of alcohol based on or compared to climate. And they're doing that, temperature and length of daylight. And by the way, even in the places where people drink more, it drops in the summer and goes back up in the winter. So, but in that video, I was joking about people who are sitting around with nothing to do. And I said, counting flowers on the wall. And then I moved on. And now, I'll admit that's an old reference. That's a really old reference. But there's a band called the Statler Brothers who had a song called Counting Flowers on the Wall. And the chorus of the song has the guy describing what he does in his spare time, presumably now that his woman has left him. And he says, I'm counting flowers on the wall, and that don't bother me at all. Playing solitaire till dawn with a deck of 51. Smoking cigarettes and watching Captain Kangaroo. Don't tell me I've got nothing to do. So I just jokingly said, counting flowers on the wall. And it took a couple days, but a couple people did call it out and say, hey, check it out, the Statler Brothers. So now I'm happy, and that video is complete. So, by the way, I know some of you probably suspect this, but I post 2 videos a day, 14 a week, brand new videos on my main channel. And I will get people 3 weeks later after video's gone up, they watch it and they send me a note, or they post a comment or something, and they go, hey, what about the Fourth Amendment? I don't know, comes after the 3rd, before the 5th? What do you mean, what about the Fourth Amendment? Well, in that video you did, what about the Fourth Amendment? Which video? Which video? It's one of the reasons, like I said, I don't like getting those comments at work, because now I'm 4 emails deep into a conversation that is not going anywhere. I got to thank a gentleman who sent me a package, and he sent it to my P.O. box. And I've said repeatedly, if you want to send me stuff, feel free to mail me things to my P.O. box. And I do get analog mail there. A couple guys send me notes quite often in response to videos, and I said, I enjoy that. Fire away. Got no problem with mail coming to my P.O. box, which is P.O. Box 168, Atlas, Michigan 48411. And a gentleman sent me this padded mailer. And he hand wrote me a note. And I hope he doesn't mind me saying this. His name is Terry. And he says, hello, Steve. You are now the proud owner of a genuine widget. Having watched you fumble for an object to use as a widget, when I found this, I knew it had your name on it. Being from Ontario, I enjoy the segments based on Canadian stories. Also, many of your other items are very interesting. I have my YouTube at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Catch your stories. Civil asset forfeiture. These stories I found very strange, but after Googling, we have it here in Ontario as well. Doesn't seem to be used here as much as in the U.S. After talking to a lawyer in Ontario, I gather it is quite common there. Sometimes maybe you could do a segment on how Canadians should deal with U.S. law enforcement and the question of Canadian driver's licenses in the USA. Enjoy your widget. I'll be watching for it. Terry. And then he gives me his contact information. And I may have misread a couple words there, but his handwriting's worse than mine. But anyways, he sent me a widget. And I often will hold up on screen this thing, and I'll go, this is a widget. And I purposely hold it up this way so it's a little less obvious what it is. This is actually a remote control to control a clock I've got right over there, which I use on my other show. And so whenever I have to talk about a widget, I hold this up and go, this is a widget. And for those who don't know, because I get people who don't know this apparently, widget is a term they've used for many, many years in different classes where they study things where it doesn't matter what the thing is, and it pops up in economics. Okay, so in classes in economics, they'll talk about a company's making widgets. What's a widget? Famously from Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield. And the professor goes, doesn't matter. That's the point. We don't care what it is. For the purposes of our discussion, it's simply a thing. It is a tangible thing being manufactured, usually. And so the term widget came into use a long, long time ago. Over the years, people have adopted that name for other things. So I've seen one of these before, although I don't think I've had one before. But this is just a really cool, handy tool that does all kinds of stuff. So it's got holes here where I'm assuming you use that as a wrench to tighten or loosen a nut. There are measuring devices on here, cutting devices on here, trimming devices, and it's just a little useful tool that can probably do all kinds of stuff. But it'll also measure for you. So if you wanted to see like how big this nut is right here, I could reach that in there and measure it and do it that way. And this is called a widget, okay? Now, I also know that Guinness, the beer company, they came out with a thing that you put in your glass to keep the beer from foaming as it's inserted into the glass. And they called their thing a widget and so I've had people who had never heard the term used before in its original sense. And then will say, oh, but that's that Guinness thing, or that's that pocket tool thing. And it's like, well, yeah, these companies have co-opted that term, but the term predates that quite a bit. So a widget is when I'm talking about something that is just, it doesn't matter what it is, okay? But I'm happy to have the widget. And I will find a permanent place for it, which might be right there. And I'm very, very glad that the gentleman sent it to me because I think it's very, very cool. So I'm going to let you know, I've had some people complain. But 2 months ago, a guy called my office on the weekend, knowing the phone would not get answered, and he yelled at my voicemail. And I'm gonna imitate as best I can what he said. I watch your videos. Clean up your set. It's driving me crazy. And he hung up. Caller ID showed his phone number. I could have called him back and said, excuse me, do you always yell at voicemail? Like, what's wrong with you? But I have a feeling that the guy watched one or two of my videos and then his OCD got the better of him and he decided to go hide in his basement or something. But I apologize. When I'm editing, I'll see and make sure that I didn't destroy anything by yelling like that on my set. But that's going to wrap it up for me today. I will see you guys next week and, of course, on my main channel every single day. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.